Ahmed Al-Manhali, a United Arab Emirates citizen, traveled to Avon, Ohio in June 2016 for medical treatment at the Cleveland Clinic. Upon arrival at the Fairland Inn and Suites, he was informed that the hotel was fully booked due to the Republican National Convention. Ahmed politely requested alternative accommodation options. While waiting in the lobby, a SWAT-style response occurred, with Avon officers arriving and detaining Ahmed, who was simply walking out of the hotel while on his phone.
Oh, no, get on the ground! Get on the ground! Down! On the ground! Do it now! Get on your turn.
Confused by the situation, Ahmed questioned the officers, but they handcuffed and searched him, damaging his phone in the process. They found a second phone, which Ahmed used for business purposes.
Take the phone away! Cover the entrance, LT. Get your back.
What is this?
Let's go down there.
What happened?
Despite no evidence of wrongdoing, the officers treated Ahmed as a terrorist, disregarding any investigation or backstory. Simultaneously, an officer spoke to the hotel receptionist who had made a 911 call, falsely claiming Ahmed had pledged allegiance to ISIS. The officer soon realized it was a false alarm and called off the search. Meanwhile, Ahmed collapsed and passed out, prompting paramedics to administer aid and to take him to a nearby hospital. The incident gained international attention, leading to the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Foreign Affairs to demand an apology from Avon officials. The mayor and police chief apologized to Ahmed, emphasizing that the incident did not reflect their community's values. Marriott International, the hotel's owner, expressed regret and committed to training to prevent similar occurrences.
You should not have been put in that situation like you were.
There were some false accusations made against you, and those are regrettable.
Ahmed
Mayor
filed a
Jensen
lawsuit
said in a
against the
statement,
hotel and its
"This
front
was a
desk
very
employees, citing
unfortunate
racial
incident
profiling."
and does not
While the
reflect
police
our
department
community.
initially considered charges
Avon is
against the
proud to
911
welcome
caller,
visitors from the
a
United
grand
Arab
jury declined to
Emirates
indict
and
anyone
other
after reviewing
countries
the
who
evidence.
regularly
After
come
3
to
years of
Northern
litigation,
Ohio for
Ahmed settled
tourism,
the lawsuit
business,
for an
medical
undisclosed
care,
amount.
or education.
The settlement aimed to compensate Ahmed for physical, psychological, and financial damages. However, he still faced lasting emotional distress, was haunted by the officer's eyes, and experienced sleep disturbances. The incident highlighted the need for improved cultural understanding and sensitivity among law enforcement personnel.
And another question, you just turned that on, right? Like, you didn't have that while you were driving?
No, I just turned it on, yeah.
Despite the driver providing the necessary documents, the officer insisted that the expired tag was the driver's responsibility and proceeded to issue a ticket.
Because it seems like a while, the validation tag expired in December.
The driver repeatedly explained that the vehicle was a rental and that the responsibility for the tag's validity rested with the rental company.
Well, you call Enterprise. That's not my car. I don't know why you put me over.
However, the officer remained ignorant and refused to acknowledge the driver's explanation. To confirm his innocence, the driver requested permission to inspect the license plate himself, which revealed that the officer's allegations were entirely false. In a revealing moment, the officer admitted to running the license plate before initiating the traffic stop, indicating possible racial profiling.
That's
It is,
Enterprise.
you're the driver.
No, that's not a problem. You call Enterprise.
You're the driver.
This admission exposed the officer's misconduct and further highlighted the unjust treatment faced by the driver. The incident exemplifies the officer's disregard for the truth and raises concerns about potential bias and abuse of power within law enforcement.
See, you tell me the plate is expired. Can I go see? That's your mistake.
That is my mistake.
Did you see because it's a black person? Look how much. That's not
I didn't even see
proper.
who was driving the car. Look at the plates here.
Moving on to the next incident, a family was peacefully enjoying their time at a park when 2 police officers approached them without any apparent reason.
Hi.
What's up, guys?
The man recording the encounter immediately exercised his rights and requested the officers to identify themselves, which they complied with by providing their names and badge number.
How's it going? Who are you guys? Can you identify yourself, please?
When asked why they approached the family, the officers claimed that the family was yelling and screaming, an allegation that holds no legal significance, especially considering they were in a public park.
Please. And you, sir? Oh.
The family members calmly informed the officers that they were simply conversing and having a good time, emphasizing that their actions were not disrupting anyone else. However, the officers altered their allegations, now accusing the family of using profanity loudly, despite the fact that such behavior is not illegal.
I guess it was just yelling and screaming.
In response, the man recording the incident asserted his right to use profanity whenever he chose to do so, recognizing that the officers had no valid reason for approaching them.
But we're just here enjoying ourselves right now.
The family members started to dismiss their presence. They indicated that they would pretend as if the officers were not even there.
So, my understanding, there's some cussing going on here.
I cuss, yeah.
Kids here,
Yep.
obviously, and they cuss.
They're playing over in the playground. Yeah, of course I cuss. I cuss anytime I want to cuss. So if you don't like it, like they don't like to hear what you want to say, then I mean, you don't have to be here.
Just as it seemed the officers would finally leave the family alone, another police officer arrived on the scene, prolonging their presence. The family members, realizing the officers' persistence in unnecessary drama, firmly requested them to vacate their space and leave them in peace. Although the officers seemed dissatisfied with the lack of disturbance from the family, they eventually departed, realizing their attempts to provoke a reaction had been unsuccessful.
Oh no, I'm talking to my people right now. There's another one coming up right now.
Hey, what the Hey! Go!
On February 12, 2023, Officer Kyle Howe of the Toledo Police Department detained and physically assaulted a couple without any apparent justification. Officer Howe spotted a speeding vehicle on the highway and pursued it with his emergency lights activated. After pulling over the driver, Mr. Romero, Officer Howe alleged that he was driving above the legal speed limit.
Good evening. What's the hurry tonight?
Nothing. I just picked up my girlfriend from work.
Okay. Do you know how fast you were going?
75 maybe.
Okay. I do 77. You got your driver's license, insurance?
I do.
Despite Mr. Romero's compliance in providing his identification, Officer Howe also requested the passenger's ID, although it was not legally required.
Okay. Does she have an ID?
She does. She
Can
might
you
not.
use my
This is her ID.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. You
I just
don't.
picked her up from work.
Yeah.
Officer Howe asked Mr. Romero to step out of the vehicle, and he complied. Officer Howe noticed something fall out of the vehicle as Mr. Romero stepped out, and he proceeded to handcuff him, claiming it was drug paraphernalia. Officer Howe informed Mr. Romero that he was being detained, not arrested, and asked him about his marijuana use.
What's that, partner?
I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. I'm gonna have you turn and put your hands behind your back for me, okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah. .45 detained. Alright. Is that comfortable for you or not?
The laws surrounding marijuana use in Ohio are complex, but possessing less than 100 grams is considered a minor misdemeanor. Officer Howe then requested Mr. Romero to undergo a field sobriety test, which he willingly agreed to. However, Officer Howe then arrested Mr. Romero for driving with a barred license, indicating that his license had been previously suspended. The situation escalated when Officer Howe aggressively grabbed Mr. Romero, slammed him onto the patrol vehicle's hood, and threw him to the ground despite no signs of resistance. And then another officer arrived and unlawfully arrested the passenger, Miss Jasmine. Dash cam footage captured Officer Howe's use of excessive force and false accusations against Mr. Romero. Despite Mr. Romero's retaliation against the unjust treatment, Officer Howe continued to assault him.
Stop! Pussy! Stop!
Baby, please stop! Babe, please! Why are you pulling on me like that?
Miss Jasmine's arrest was also unjustified as she had not engaged in any wrongdoing. Both Mr. Romero and Miss Jasmine were ultimately arrested, but it is important to note that their violations of the law did not excuse the mistreatment they endured.
Pulling away from me and trying to kick me as it is.
Why the did you hit me and slam me on the ground that many times?
Following an investigation into another incident involving Officer Howe, he resigned from the Toledo Police Department. The incident highlights concerns about the excessive use of force and the violation of individuals' rights during law enforcement encounters. In another incident, a driver who had committed no wrongdoing and violated no laws was pulled over by an officer who falsely claimed that the vehicle's tag was expired. The officer's true intentions became evident when he asked a question unrelated to the traffic stop, implying potential phone use while driving. So it's time to watch our next case. On July 26, 2021, the Orangeburg Department of Public Safety received a distress call from a female resident of Colton Village Townhomes in Orangeburg, South Carolina. The caller reported that a man was vigorously banging on her door and window, attempting to gain entry. Furthermore, she alleged that the man possessed a firearm tucked into the waistband of his jean shorts. In response, dispatch promptly directed all officers in the vicinity to respond without delay. Officer David Lance Dukes arrived as the first responder at the scene. With his firearm drawn, Officer Dukes exited his patrol car and proceeded to instruct a 58-year-old disabled man, along with his cousin DeMario Julian, to immediately lie on the ground. At this juncture, it was evident from the body camera footage that Mr. Gillard was complying with Officer Dukes' commands. The recording captured Mr. Gillard raising his hands in the air and proceeding to lower himself onto his hands and knees as directed by the officer. However, before Mr. Gillard could fully assume the prone position on the ground, Officer Dukes unexpectedly and forcefully stomped on Mr. Gillard's neck. The impact caused Mr. Gillard's head to forcefully strike the pavement, resulting in a bruised forehead. Subsequent investigations revealed that Mr. Gillard's delay in complying was due to the presence of metal rods and pins in his leg and hip as a result of a previous injury. Following the aggressive act, Officer Dukes promptly restrained Mr. Gillard by placing him in handcuffs. Immediately afterward, Officer Dukes informed a second officer at the scene that there should be a gun behind Mr. Gillard, suggesting that Mr. Gillard had allegedly left a firearm behind the white SUV where he had been positioned prior to the confrontation.
There's a gun behind me. There's a gun, I believe, behind me.
I ain't got no gun now.
Mr. Gillard assured Officer Dukes that there was no gun present, and upon a quick examination, the second officer confirmed the absence of any firearm. Officer Dukes proceeded to conduct a search of Mr. Gillard's person, accusing him of failing to comply with orders. However, as evident in the earlier body camera footage, Mr. Gillard had been complying with Officer Dukes' commands from the beginning. Not once did Mr. Gillard exhibit any behavior that could be perceived as a threat, thereby negating Officer Dukes' justification for excusing excessive force against him. Once Officer Dukes ensured that Mr. Gillard did not possess a firearm, he decided to search the vicinity of the SUV himself in hopes of locating the alleged weapon. It swiftly became apparent that there was no gun to be found. Instead, it was discovered that Mr. Gillard had been carrying a stick wrapped in shiny silver tape, which he typically used as protection against aggressive stray dogs. Officer Dukes and the second officer helped Mr. Gillard back up onto his feet, at which point he began expressing his dissatisfaction regarding the unnecessary impact of his head on the concrete. The visible injury to Mr. Gillard's forehead, marked by a bruise and swelling, further supported his claim. In response to Mr. Gillard's confrontation regarding the incident, Officer Dukes provided a reply. At this point, it became apparent that Mr. Gillard was in need of medical attention. However, neither of the officers present on the scene initially took this into consideration. Fortunately, Officer Queenie Polidor arrived and promptly recognized the necessity for emergency medical services, requesting EMS assistance. As Mr. Gillard continued to express his grievances regarding the incident, Officer Dukes approached Officer Polidor and another responding officer to inform them about the situation. However, Officer Dukes' account was far from truthful. He claimed that when Mr. Gillard walked in front of the SUV, he believed Mr. Gillard was carrying a gun and repeatedly instructed him to drop it. Officer Dukes made further allegations claiming Mr. Gillard had his hands in his pockets and repeatedly ignored requests to show his hands. However, the body camera footage once again contradicted Officer Dukes' statements.
He was in front of the car when I came up, and he was walking like this. And I thought it was a gun at first. I said, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun. I had him at gunpoint.
Clearly showing Mr. Gillard complying with the orders by keeping his hands raised above his head. Officer Dukes mentioned to a fellow officer that he wanted to take the stick as evidence, stating that it was the reason for his actions. In response, the fellow officer promptly questioned the necessity of using the stick as evidence, pointing out that the body camera footage would suffice. EMS arrived at the scene to attend to Mr. Gillard's condition. While Mr. Gillard was being examined, Mr. Julian approached Officer Dukes and requested a card with his details on it. In response, Officer Dukes promptly informed Mr. Julian that he did not possess a card and clarified that the department did not issue such cards in any case. Officer Polidor quickly recognized Officer Duke's misstatement and promptly corrected him. She asserted that they indeed possessed cards and proceeded to provide Mr. Julian with her own cards as requested. On July 31, 2022, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division announced that Officer Dukes was taken into custody and charged with first-degree assault and battery. Several months later, in November 2021, Mr. Gillard received a compensation settlement of $650,000 from Orangeburg, South Carolina. City officials additionally expressed their commitment to establishing a citizens task force to provide oversight and guidance regarding interactions between residents and the Orangeburg police.
Law enforcement agencies serve as the guardians of justice, entrusted with protecting the innocent and maintaining order in society. Despite the good intentions of protecting the law, a shadowy underbelly appears, a hidden world populated by people who violate their pledge and dishonor the badge they wear. These dirty cops seriously jeopardize the foundation of a just and equitable society. What do you think should be the punishment for dirty cops? Watch the video to find out the shameful crimes these officers committed. The first incident is where Atlanta police fired one of their own and then released the officer's body camera footage, allegedly showing her mishandling $500 in cash from a homicide victim's wallet, officials said. Officer Keisha Richburg's bodycam footage, released by the Atlanta Police Department, shows the alleged incident unfolding at the scene of a shooting on Marietta Road near the Inman Rail Yard. And Nur Green, 43, was arrested and booked for murder after he allegedly shot Harris in the head because of an argument, police said. Officer Keisha Richburg was at the scene of a shooting in northwest Atlanta when an EMT handed her the wallet of shooting victim Jamel Harris, 29, who later died at the hospital, authorities said. Bodycam video showed the EMT, Kevin Getter, tucking cash into the wallet's fold and not into the main compartment where cash is usually placed, according to footage posted by the Atlanta Police Department on its YouTube channel. When she handles the wallet in her squad car, the cash cannot be seen in the slot where Gator allegedly had placed the money, the video shows. When Officer Richburg transfers the victim's wallet from her right hand to her left hand, it is readily apparent the money is no longer tucked inside the wallet. A police report on the incident reads, Getter confirmed to internal affairs investigators that he gave Richburg the wallet with cash inside. I'm about 90% sure it was money, because it was kind of like like money would be folded in half. And I can't imagine it being anything else, he said. Later in the video, Richburg is shown surrendering the wallet to another police officer at Grady Memorial Hospital. Tevin Gator told investigators the money was handed over by a bystander who told him the cash belonged to the victim. I shouldn't have been messing with it because it was a crime scene, but it was just habit from not leaving patients' monies and stuff. So I just picked it up and then realized what I did. So I handed it off to the officer, Getter told internal affairs investigators. Witness Leilani Collier said that she turned in the money to police after finding his wallet and informed Harris' wife of the cash. However, police allegedly told Harris' wife, who was pregnant with the couple's second child, that there was no money in the wallet. An Atlanta Police Department spokesperson said that Richburg did not properly account for the money according to the department's policies and procedures, and Atlanta Police Chief Erica Shields fired Richburg. Officer integrity goes to the heart of what we do here every single day, Shields said in a statement. It's imperative the public have trust in our word and our actions. It's extremely disappointing to see the victim of a fatal shooting be victimized twice by the actions of one of our officers. But the Atlanta's police union disputes the department's claim and said Richburg is now in the appeals process that she hopes will reverse her termination. She didn't know money was in there, Vincent Champion, regional director for the International Brotherhood of Police Officers, told NBC News. The union rep insisted the video footage released by the department is inconclusive at best. They haven't proven that she had the money or took the money, Champion said. We don't feel the officer did that. Do you think Richburg is innocent or guilty? Let us know in the comments. The next incident is proof that social media is becoming a menace. TikTok user and police officer Brianna Strauss left netizens disappointed in the police force after speaking about her privileges. In a video, Strauss was seen reminding viewers that she can speed without getting in trouble. She also said that officers can find a reason to pull drivers over if they stay in front of them long enough. The video has led to a lengthy debate about police officers' entitlement, with people taking to Twitter to call her out. Brianna Strauss works with the Federal Way Police Department in Washington State. In the now viral video, she told viewers that the police are above and beyond the law and do not have the same rules as the citizen. This has led netizens to believe that Strauss was abusing her power after she became an authoritarian figure. If we're driving on the freeway in our police car, get the fuck out of our way. Get the fuck out of the way. If you merge and we follow behind you, and we merge too, you're probably in trouble. Best way to find that out is to get the fuck out of the way. I can go 90 miles an hour. You can't. You can't do that. So get the fuck out of the way. If us officers stay behind you long enough, we can find a reason to pull you over, so you might as well get the fuck kick out of the way. The video, which has garnered massive traction on social media, has since been deleted from Brianna Strauss's profile. However, netizens were quick to screen record the video. The video found its way to Twitter as well, where it amassed over 3.5 million views and more than 52.7 thousand likes. Netizens were not pleased to hear the officer's comments, and many were disgusted by her tone and autarkic demeanor. Several internet reasons stated that her behavior of looking untouchable was a reason why they did not believe in the police system. The officer went on to receive a 10-hour suspension, which would mark it as one shift without pay. Additionally, when people learnt of Strauss's suspension of only 10 hours, they were left furious. Many called for the officer to be fired instead of being suspended for such a short duration of time. The Federal Way Police Department conducted an investigation into the video and looked into possible violations of standards. They also looked into the officer's previous disciplinary issues. Commander Kurt Schwann from Federal Way that the police officer did not have previous disciplinary issues. They went on to determine that Strauss broke the department's code of conduct when it came to their social media and personal conduct. Do you think that punishment was enough for the arrogant police officer? The next incident is of a Florida deputy who was caught for drunken driving. According to online booking records maintained by the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, Shelby Elise Coniglio, 26, was charged with one count of operating a vehicle while intoxicated with a blood alcohol content of 0.15 or more. Florida law presumes someone is too impaired to drive at 0.8. Coniglio served as a constable in the Patrol Operations Department for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office from September 10, 2018. According to a press release from the Sheriff's Office, St. Petersburg Police stopped Coniglio about 1:37 a.m. at 108th Avenue North and 4th Street North in St. Petersburg. Police said Coniglio showed signs of impairment through slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and she also struggled to remain steady on her feet, officers noted. Police also said she had an odor of alcohol on her breath. Officers said that Coniglio agreed to perform field sobriety tests, but performed poorly on them, and that she submitted to a breath sample, which indicated she had a blood alcohol concentration above the legal limit. Officers said Coniglio submitted a breath sample that indicated she had a breath alcohol content level of 206-219, according to the Sheriff's Office. Her blood alcohol level was also higher than the state limit of 0.8. Coniglio was arrested and booked into the Pinellas County Jail and was released on her own recognizance. However, per the Sheriff's Office policy, Coniglio's employment was immediately terminated following the arrest. What do you think is the best way to protect citizens from dirty cops like this? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Enforcers of law who are tasked with maintaining public order, protecting individuals and property, and preventing and investigating crimes. That is what being a police officer means, or at least that's what they are trying to do. Instances have aroused where police officers have misused their authority, employed excessive force, and violated people's rights, particularly those from marginalized communities, leading to distrust and fear of law enforcement. Are they subjected to such power? What are the legal repercussions for them? However, and most of all, would they be treated differently when compared to the masses? Join us as we take a closer look at two of the most uncanny cases that could make question the judicial system as a whole. Our first case kicks off with the case of Harold Hill, which is just a perfect example of how our justice system can go wrong. This case definitely checks all the boxes, including a horrific rape and murder, as well as a mishandled conviction, you name it. So then what went about? Let's start with the so-called beacons of justice, Kenneth Bordeaux and John Halloran, the detectives who were assigned to the case and the beacons of law. They were the ones who managed to extract a confession from Peter Williams, who was later discovered to have been in custody when the crime was committed. How did they even produce a fabricated confession from someone who wasn't even present? Hill claims he was physically and mentally tortured until he confessed to crimes he didn't commit. Is this the kind of conduct we anticipate from our law enforcement personnel? The trial itself was held when Hill was 31 years old, despite the fact that he was only 16 at the time of the crime and was therefore tried as an adult. At this point, it's just not fair, and it's incomprehensible what Hill is going through. Given that neither of the defendants had a criminal history prior to the incident, this is an intriguing move by the prosecution. Hill and Young were given a life without parole sentence after the jury found them guilty of the murder. However, 13 long years later, DNA tests showed that neither of the defendants' cellular components found under Kathy Morgan's fingernails, nor the hair found at the crime scene matched either of them. Imagine the sheer suffering Hill endured for something he didn't do. It continues to amaze me how Hill managed to hang on to his life. The prosecutors disputed the findings despite this evidence, claiming that the hairs had nothing to do with the crime and that the cellular material might have come from sweat or drool that the recovery teams had left behind. Even in the face of such overwhelming evidence, it's shocking that the prosecutors were so resistant. Young was killed in a hit-and-run incident shortly after Harold and Young were finally let out of jail. This almost leads us to believe that this is almost a plot to clip both of them. Hill, on the other hand, accused the city of Chicago, the police, and the two detectives involved in the case of coercing a confession and violating his civil rights in a complaint he filed against them. The case was resolved for $1.25 million, of which Hill received $500,000 and the remainder was paid to the lawyers. It's surprising that the detectives were only asked to make a pitiful $7,500 payment for their roles in this whole fiasco. You think that's all? Wait until you hear this. It should be noted that Hill is currently serving a 27-year sentence after being found guilty once more of an unrelated charge of armed robbery. In spite of this, it is obvious that Harold Hill was let down by the legal system in the past. This case emphasizes the need for justice system reform to prevent erroneous convictions and make sure that those who abuse their power are held accountable. Starting with the investigation and continuing through the trial and conviction, the Harold Hill case is a tragedy of errors. Hill was wrongfully detained for 13 years, and because the system made him a criminal, he was never given the opportunity to adapt to life outside of prison. He was completely screwed over by the system, and the police only received $7,500 each. When police officers commit acts like the ones they did, they should be imprisoned for a minimum of the same amount of time as the victims they imprison. Up next, we have an oddball in the form of Sergeant Mario Cardona versus Daniel Garza. After being thrown and pinned to the ground, Daniel Garza was rendered helpless. Officer Mario Cardona, a longtime friend of Garza's, was on the verge of breaking his wrist. Confronting a criminal and keeping him confined is one thing, but putting a civilian without a reason is shocking. Garza recalled, "I was trying to be a man and trying to hold in the pain, but man, that wrist lock hurts. He's just bending it and bending it." But why did Cardona go so far as to nearly break his wrist? His actions were apparently driven by rage toward Garza, whom he accuses of attempting to kidnap his stepdaughter. But are cops subjected to such an authority in the first place? It appears that the two men had a long history together because Garza had once dated Naomi Villanueva, the stepdaughter of Cardona. Villanueva left her parents' home to live with a friend because the relationship had reached its breaking point. However, Villanueva was allegedly taken from her friend's home in May 2015 by Garza without her consent and brought to her parents' residence in Whittier, where Cardona lived across the street. Garza was performing pilates in his garden when Cardona saw him and told him to go to the street. Cardona started his assault as soon as Garza sat down. Garza claimed that he was not the aggressor, and a neighbor who saw the incident attested to Garza's innocence. As soon as they arrived on the scene, the sheriff's deputies saw redness on Garza's face, bruises and abrasions on his knees, and redness on his wrist. After Garza complained about Cardona, the city of Los Angeles, Chief Beck, and Cardona were named as defendants in a federal lawsuit. Garza claimed that he had been the victim of a false arrest, an arbitrary search and seizure, overuse of force, an assault and battery, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. The trial also featured a video of the incident captured by one of Garza's neighbors. They had made up a story of what had happened to make him look like a hero, and me look like a criminal, Daniel Garza. The hearing was presided over by U.S. District Judge Stephen V. Wilson, who heard former Deputy City Attorney Michael Amarian speak in defense of the city. Cardona was found to have acted maliciously as an off-duty officer by the jury, and on June 26, 2017, he was ordered to pay Garza $210,000 in damages. In addition, the court added $664,000 in attorney's fees and $26,000 in post-trial costs. The city of L.A. refused to take responsibility for Cardona's actions and even refused to indemnify the officer, forcing him to pay for the charges out of his pocket. Jim DeSimone, Garza's attorney, claims, "This is the problem with the LAPD. This is why people are out on the street." The incident serves as an example of how police can abuse people and get away with it. In this instance, however, Garza was able to confront the authorities who had infringed upon his rights and prevail in his lawsuit against Cardona. It is clear that police officers cannot get away with using excessive force against citizens after the jury found Cardona guilty of malice. It is important to note that this case also emphasizes how crucial it is for citizens to be aware of their rights and to speak out against law enforcement when they believe those rights have been violated. Garza's decision to accuse Cardona of using excessive force and file a complaint against him demonstrates that people can take legal action to stop police brutality. What do you think of these cases? Which do you think is most unfair? Sound off in the comments below and make sure to let us know if we missed out on anything. While you are at it, make sure to hit that subscribe and leave a like to never miss an update from us. Thanks for watching.
In this terrifying incident, a young woman named Taylor Brown was subjected to harassment and assault by over 6 police officers without any apparent reason. On February 9, 2023, 18-year-old college student Taylor Brown was at the Normal Police Department in Illinois for an interview regarding a fire that occurred at her residence earlier that day. Despite waiting for the detective for around 40 minutes, Brown expressed her fatigue and requested to leave.
Okay, and we're going to seize your phone.
Why?
Because the fire's under investigation.
I need to know why my
So you can hand me the phone, or I can take the phone.
But I need to know why my phone's being... They're not telling me a reason why my phone's being...
I just did.
But you said it's under investigation, which I...
So listen to me. The fire...
That's her phone?
So the fire's going to be under investigation, and your phone's going to be seized.
Is Shay...
Yes, everybody's phone's being seized.
The officers assured her that they would provide transportation back home. However, their promises quickly proved empty. 3 officers approached Brown, insisting on confiscating her personal mobile phone, claiming it was necessary for the ongoing investigation into the fire.
We're waiting for the detective, so the detective's going to seize your phone.
No one told me any of this.
Okay.
You told me that you were about to take me home.
Okay, so I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. So you can hang up. You can hang up the phone with, and I can take you home. Yep.
So, no, they're not taking my phone and letting me leave. I don't know what I'm finna. It's 4 a.m. I can't go without my phone. Well, if I do the interview,
you can go do the interview, but your phone's going to currently be seized.
Can I talk to him first? Can he come down here? Cause
nope, we're not going to do that. So you can hang up the phone, or I'm going to take the phone. That's how this is going to work.
Oh, absolutely.
So
she said, hang up the phone, and they're going to take the phone. Because at this point, I'm being threatened.
However, under the Illinois Criminal Code, there was no legal basis for the seizure of her phone, as Brown had not committed any offense related to the investigation. The officer failed to provide a clear reason for the seizure, escalating the situation unnecessarily.
Under investigation.
Don't ever tell me not to interrupt you and I've been this calm.
So the phone's gonna be seized. So in a second, I'm gonna take
what
it.
I'm asking you. I'm
So if
asking
you-
you a reason.
so
I'm
if-
not being rebuttal. I'm asking you a reason.
So if you would like to talk to the detective, you can.
Why is my phone being seized?
If you would like to talk to the detective that is seizing it, you can. Do you wish to talk to him?
Yeah, but
Do you want to give an interview?
Brown, aware of her rights, refused to hand over her phone and requested to speak with the detective. The officer denied her request and attempted to coerce her into compliance. However, they had no legal grounds to seize her phone without probable cause or a warrant, as protected by the Fourth Amendment of the federal Constitution. Despite Brown's lawful refusal, the officers persisted, offering her the option to give an interview as if it were a condition to retain her phone. Brown asserted her right to have an attorney present and expressed her unwillingness to provide an interview.
no, I wanted to ask him why my phone's being seized because she said she could take me home, but without my phone, that doesn't make sense. It sounds like that's
So are you going to talk to the detective?
No, I need everyone to come and tell me why my phone's being seized because no one told me this until right now.
At this point, 3 more officers arrived at the scene, bringing the total to 6 surrounding Brown, who had done nothing wrong.
Do not kick. Okay, push your legs out. Stop. Relax. Relax.
Mom, I'm not letting go. I promise.
Relax.
Mom, I'm not letting go. I
Relax.
promise.
We just want your phone. That's it.
We just want your phone.
They trying to give me no protection.
Taylor. No. No.
Mom, they got me.
Stop kicking.
Stop kicking.
Mom, they trying to get me.
Hey, Taylor, give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand.
Taylor,
Yeah, Mom.
Turn her to
That way.
this way toward me.
Mom.
give me.
Roll.
Give. Give me your hand, Taylor.
Which way we roll?
Give me your hand.
Ow.
I almost.
I'm gonna keep doing the pressure point until you let go. Let go.
Got this hand.
Release your hand.
During the altercation, the officers forcibly attempted to take Brown's phone from her, leading to a physical struggle. One officer used pressure tactics near Brown's collarbone to gain compliance, despite her lack of criminal behavior.
I'm filing the case as soon as I get off this floor.
Let me move.
You all have no right. I came down here willingly because you're a black woman.
Get up.
So,
Okay.
Hold on.
I want you to think about how you're
Hold
doing another black woman.
Okay.
When you go to
Relax. Relax.
You just put me in handcuffs and I came down here willingly.
Can you here? Double lock.
Hold on. Let me
I
tighten them
came
up.
down here willingly. And y'all just okay with this. All of y'all. And you a black woman. You are a black African American woman.
Property.
Where's the phone at?
You're black.
All right. We're going this way.
They're white. I expect it from them.
All
You're
right.
black, dude.
Okay. You also kicked me in the head, so.
You also, I came
We're
down
going
here
this way.
willingly because I trusted you. And look at what you're doing.
Are you willing to provide a statement or no?
The use of force by the officers was excessive and unjustified, considering that Brown had not committed any offense. Eventually, Brown was placed in handcuffs, and the detective informed her that her phone was being seized.
Do you want to provide a statement?
My detective, I need to talk to her. I need an attorney present.
Okay.
I need a lawyer.
You can take her to jail.
All right.
Take me to
Where's her
jail?
property?
Whatever charges you guys have.
You have resisting and aggravated battery of a police officer.
Oh my God. Okay, I'll do the interview.
You still have the charges.
I didn't aggravate you. You
You
assaulted
kicked
me.
Okay, so relax.
You assaulted me. I'm 18 years old and you assaulted me. Of course I'm aggravated. I wasn't resisting arrest. You didn't say that I was under arrest.
You're being arrested. I asked you, so listen, I asked you to provide your phone and you refused, okay? When you
You didn't give me a reason.
So, nope. I said your phone was being seized.
You
said,
never gave me the
Don't
reason.
interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. I said your phone was being seized.
I asked you the
I gave
reason.
you several times to
I
hand it to
trusted
me.
you. That's why I
You did
came.
not hand me your phone.
Brown, steadfast in her rights, requested a lawyer, prompting the detective to order her arrest. The officers charged her with resisting arrest and aggravated battery of a police officer, despite lacking any valid grounds for such charges.
Scared, hello, you would do the same thing.
Cuffs still have to be double locked if they weren't double locked back.
They weren't. Go ahead and double lock them.
Double lock them, I can't move. Are you guys serious right now? How are you gonna do this to me? I'm like, bro, I just got out of high school and you all are scaring me.
Following her ordeal, Brown filed a civil lawsuit against the officers for violating her Fourth Amendment rights and causing physical and emotional harm. She seeks compensatory and punitive damages for the trauma she endured during the incident. Brown's mother expressed her concern, hoping that no other mother would have to go through a similar experience. The lawsuit is ongoing, highlighting the need to hold law enforcement accountable for their actions and protect the rights of individuals like Taylor Brown, who experience unjust treatment and unwarranted aggression from those sworn to protect and serve. Here we have Brian Filipiak, a 47-year-old Washtenaw County Sheriff's Lieutenant, who was off duty when he got pulled over. Deputy Morrison, after stopping Lieutenant Filipiak, informed him about the reason for the traffic stop. Subsequently, Deputy Morrison inquired if Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed any alcoholic beverages that afternoon. In response, Lieutenant Filipiak acknowledged that he had indeed consumed a couple drinks. After Deputy Morrison confirmed Lieutenant Filipiak's identity, he returned to his vehicle and instructed the lieutenant to exit the truck for a field sobriety test. The purpose of the test was to assess whether Lieutenant Filipiak had consumed an excessive amount of alcohol, despite it being evident he was clearly unfit to drive. Exhibiting evident signs of severe intoxication, such as slurred speech and watery eyes, Lieutenant Filipiak left no room for doubt that he was heavily under the influence.
Okay, you got your ID?
However, despite this clear indication, Lieutenant Filipiak adamantly refused to comply with Deputy Morrison's request to step out of the vehicle. Instead, he insisted that Deputy Morrison should either allow him to return home or let him sleep it off on the side of the road. In response, Deputy Morrison firmly informed Lieutenant Filipiak that his options were limited and made it clear that he would not allow him to be released in his current condition.
Multiple reckless driving calls about you.
Despite Deputy Morrison's persistent attempts to persuade Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle, the latter remained adamant in his repeated request to be released. He proceeded to assert that Deputy Morrison's job would not be jeopardized if he let the situation slide, emphasizing the potential consequences for himself if the matter were pursued.
Brian, I'm going to have you step out of the car when I'll do field sobriety test for you. Okay?
However, Deputy Morrison understood that ignoring the incident would not only lead to his termination, but also result in misdemeanor charges carrying a penalty of up to 1 year of imprisonment or a fine of $1,000. Deputy Morrison was fully aware of the extent of Lieutenant Filipiak's intoxication, as he had allegedly observed the lieutenant discarding open containers in the back seat during the traffic stop.
I'm going to ask you to step out of the vehicle. What would you like me to do?
Just let me go.
I can't. I had multiple phone calls. You'd be in the same situation if I was in the vehicle in your county, correct?
All right, just let me stay here.
You can't. I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of this vehicle. Brian, my hands are tied. If I let you go, I'm going to lose my career over you. You don't think I wouldn't? This is northern Michigan. We were a small department. Okay, I'm going to ask you nicely to step out of the vehicle. You know I have my job to do. You know that.
Yeah, I just want you.
And I understand your point, your position. Okay, I'm trying to be as cooperative and nice to you as I can.
Despite Deputy Morrison's continuous efforts in trying to have Lieutenant Filipiak step out of the vehicle.
After nearly 5 minutes of persistent requests for Lieutenant Filipiak to exit the vehicle,
Just let me go.
I can't let you go. We're way past that point. You know this. You're a lieutenant. You know how this works.
Yeah, I do.
You would tell one of your deputies if they called you right on the side of the road and they asked you what to do. So, if one of your deputies is in the position as I am right now, calling you as a lieutenant, Lieutenant, this is what I got. What should I do? You're just going to say let him go? Why? Just because. You're intoxicated. I know it. You don't put alcohol in the vehicle, then you're stabbed in the back. I know it. You know it. You're a good guy. Brian, out of this vehicle. I'm asking you nicely. I don't want to see anything worse happen. Okay?
Deputy Morrison, having reached the limits of his patience, opened the door and firmly instructed the lieutenant to step out, avoiding any need for further escalation. Deputy Morrison proceeded to inform Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be arrested for refusal to comply if he persisted in refusing to exit the vehicle. RNO, an abbreviation for resisting and obstructing a police officer, is a felony offense that carries a penalty of up to 2 years of imprisonment, a fine of $2,000, or both. After an additional 5 minutes had passed, Deputy Morrison cautioned Lieutenant Filipiak that he would be tased if he continued to resist compliance with his instructions. Consequently, Deputy Morrison retrieved his taser and aimed it at the lieutenant, while firmly warning him that failure to comply would result in being tased. Deputy Morrison even considered using the backup taser at that moment. In this situation, Deputy Morrison possessed the authority to employ his taser and would not have faced repercussions for doing so. Fortunately, the threat of being tased successfully persuaded Lieutenant Filipiak to finally exit the vehicle. As anticipated, Deputy Morrison did not tolerate Lieutenant Filipiak's resistance, instructed Lieutenant Filipiak to occupy the back seat of his patrol car, intending to transport him to the police station. Despite Deputy Morrison's clear directive to sit in the car, Lieutenant Filipiak persisted in his refusal, stating, "I am who you guys are. Do you guys realize that?" This remark strongly indicated that Lieutenant Filipiak was attempting to exploit his position of authority, seeking a preferential treatment based on his status.
Alright, we're done with this.
Hold on.
Talk to me. Yes or no? Are you doing field sobriety tests?
All right. So if this was the other situation,
Lieutenant Filipiak clearly held the belief that he was exempt from abiding by the law. However, the officers present at the scene were determined to make it evident that such was not the case. Following some further struggle, they managed to successfully place Lieutenant Filipiak inside the patrol car.
I'm not resisting, but let's stop.
You're tensed up.
Let's talk about it. Okay.
We've talked. I don't want to put you on the ground.
No,
I don't want to make this worse.
All right, I will just sleep it off.
Dude, stop it right now. You know, stop it.
Allowing for his transportation to the police station, where he would face the consequences of his actions. Subsequent breath tests conducted at the police station revealed that Filipiak's blood alcohol level registered at 0.28 and 0.27%. For context, the legal limit for operating a motor vehicle in the United States is a mere 0.08%.
What happens? We're going to take you to the jail and ask for a data master. If you refuse that, we're going to get a search warrant for your blood. Brian, have a seat.
Stop, guys. Hold on.
Therefore, Lieutenant Filipiak's blood alcohol concentration was over 3 times the legal limit, subjecting him to Michigan State's super drunk law, which carries penalties of up to 180 days in jail, fines of up to $700, and up to 360 hours of community service.